In the year 1666, London was a city waiting for disaster. It was a bustling metropolis, alive with the energy of rapid growth and change. The population had swelled, and the city was expanding to accommodate its new inhabitants. But with this growth came challenges. The streets of 17th-century London were narrow and crowded, a labyrinthine maze where people lived cheek by jowl. Houses, shops, and businesses were predominantly wooden structures, huddled together in close quarters. Fire was an ever-present danger, a risk that was part and parcel of everyday life. Fireplaces were the primary source of heat and light, and the use of candles was widespread. The threat of a fire starting and spreading was always a heartbeat away. Moreover, the city's infrastructure was ill-prepared to deal with such a disaster. There was no organized fire brigade, water supply was inconsistent, and the methods for extinguishing fires were rudimentary at best. Everything was ripe for catastrophe. Compounding these conditions was the long, dry summer of 1666. The city was parched, the wooden buildings desiccated, turning them into perfect kindling. The River Thames, the city's primary source of water, was at an unusually low level, further hampering any potential firefighting efforts. The populace was blissfully unaware of the impending danger. Life went on as usual, oblivious to the fact that these were the perfect conditions for a fire. A fire that would not be an ordinary one, a fire that would sear itself into the pages of history. The city was a tinderbox, poised on the brink of disaster. All it needed was a spark. And in the early hours of September 2nd, that spark would come, igniting a conflagration that would rage uncontrollably for days. This was not just any fire. This was the Great Fire of London. The stage was set for one of the most devastating fires in history. In the early hours of September 2nd, in a bakery on Pudding Lane, the spark of disaster was ignited. As the city of London slumbered, a tiny flame, insignificant in its infancy, was born within the humble bakery of Thomas Farriner. In the quiet of the night it began to consume the bakery, growing, thriving, eager to claim the world outside its wooden birthplace. The Farriner family, waking to the smell of smoke and the crackle of hungry flames, barely escaped the inferno. But the fire would not be so easily contained. Fueled by a steady wind and a city built of timber, it found fertile ground in the closely packed houses of the city. London's warren of narrow lanes and overhanging buildings provided the perfect conduit for the fire's merciless advance. The fire, once a spark, became a roaring beast, consuming house after house, street after street. It was indiscriminate in its destruction, reducing the homes of the wealthy and the poor alike to smoldering ruins. The city, which had been asleep under the cover of night, woke to a dawn painted with the hues of a raging inferno. Firefighting in the 17th century was a primitive and often futile endeavor. Without the technology and resources we have today, the people of London could do little more than watch in horror as their city burned. Attempts to douse the flames with water from the Thames were laughably inadequate against the fire's relentless onslaught. Yet even as the fire raged, the spirit of London remained unbroken. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers comforted strangers, and the city's denizens faced the disaster with a courage that would become the stuff of legends. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, a spirit that would be needed in the difficult days to come. By the end of that first day, the fire was out of control. The spark that had started in a humble bakery had grown into a monster, and London, one of the greatest cities of the world, was at its mercy. The fire, now a raging beast, began to consume the city. It spread with a ferocity that was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Over the course of 3 relentless days, the fire's insatiable hunger devoured the heart of London. The fire was indiscriminate in its path of destruction. It tore through the homes of the rich and poor alike. The narrow, winding streets packed with houses built of wood and straw provided the perfect fuel for the inferno. The cries of the displaced echoed through the city, the chilling soundtrack to the city's ruin. Landmarks that had stood for centuries were not spared from the fire's wrath. St. Paul's Cathedral, a beacon of faith and a symbol of London's religious heritage, fell prey to the flames. The once magnificent edifice was reduced to a skeletal ruin, its stone walls the only testament to its former glory. London's populace, a sea of humanity, was thrown into chaos. Thousands were displaced, their homes devoured by the relentless blaze. They huddled together in the open spaces, watching as their city, their lives, were reduced to smoldering ruins. The fire continued its relentless march, seemingly unstoppable. The city's landmarks, its homes, its very essence, were consumed by the flames. The once bustling city was silenced, its heartbeat drowned out by the roar of the fire. But amidst the destruction, the spirit of London remained unbroken. The displaced banded together, offering solace and support to one another. The city was ablaze, its future uncertain, but its people were resolute. They faced the devastation with a determination that would become a hallmark of their city. By the time the fire was brought under control, the face of London was forever changed. The city that emerged from the ashes was a testament to the indomitable spirit of its people. A city reborn, forever marked by the scars of the Great Fire, but resolute in its determination to rise again. As the city burned, efforts to combat the fire proved ineffectual. As the flames danced their destructive dance, Londoners tried desperately to extinguish the fiery beast that had taken their city hostage. During the initial stages of the fire, Londoners employed the most common firefighting method of the time: fire breaks. The idea was simple: demolish the buildings in the path of the fire to deprive it of fuel. However, this method proved to be of little use against the Great Fire. The flames were simply too fierce, too voracious. They leapt over the fire breaks and continued their destructive march. The biggest obstacle, however, was the lack of a coordinated response. London, in the 17th century, was a city without a formal firefighting force. There were no fire engines, no trained firefighters, and no fire hydrants. The responsibility for firefighting fell to local parish officials, city watchmen, and the citizens themselves. But the scale of the disaster was far beyond their capabilities. Bucket brigades formed, with men, women, and children passing buckets of water from the River Thames to throw onto the fire. But against the towering inferno, their efforts were like trying to quell a forest fire with a water pistol. Some resorted to using gunpowder to blow up houses in the path of the fire, hoping to create a large enough fire break. But often the fire was faster, and the resulting chaos only added to the panic. In the end, the flames were not defeated by human effort, but by a shift in the wind and a bout of rain. And yet it's hard not to admire the resilience and determination of the Londoners. Despite their fear and the overwhelming odds, they did not surrender their city without a fight. Yet, despite their bravery, the harsh reality remained. The fire was a monstrous inferno, a beast that refused to be tamed. It was a force of nature that feasted on the city for 4 long days and nights. It would take more than human effort to quell the flames of this monstrous inferno. On September 6th, the wind dropped, and the fire with it. After 4 long days, the destructive force that had consumed London began to lose its might. In the early hours, the once fierce winds that had fueled the flames to their monstrous size began to die down. As if the city itself had released a sigh of relief, the wind's retreat brought a decrease in the fire's intensity. The residents, firefighters, and even King Charles II's firefighters, who had been tirelessly battling the blaze, seized this opportunity. Without the wind to spread the flames, they finally managed to extinguish the last fiery tendrils that had gripped their city. But as the smoke cleared and the ashes settled, the once bustling city of London lay eerily silent and still, cloaked in a blanket of ash and soot. The following dawn revealed the extent of the devastation. The fire had swept through over 4/5 of the city, leaving only the western and northern suburbs untouched. London's heart, once teeming with life and activity, was now a barren wasteland. The once regal skyline of London, dominated by the spires of churches and the sturdy structures of trade buildings, was now a jagged silhouette of charred beams and crumbling walls. Over 13,000 houses, 87 churches including the iconic St. Paul's Cathedral, and numerous significant buildings like the Royal Exchange and the Custom House were reduced to rubble. The once thriving city was now a ghost town, its streets eerily quiet and lifeless. But amidst the ruins, a glimmer of resilience shone through. The people of London, though battered and bruised, were not defeated. They began the arduous task of clearing the rubble, their spirits undeterred by the magnitude of their loss. Their city may have been brought to its knees, but their resolve to rebuild was unshaken. The Great Fire of London had finally been tamed, but the city lay in ruins. The ashes of the old city were still warm, but the seeds of a new London were already being sown. In the wake of the fire, the city faced the colossal task of rebuilding. The Great Fire of London had left an indelible mark on history, reducing a thriving metropolis to a smoldering heap of ashes. The city's once bustling streets were now home to a displaced populace, their lives uprooted by the inferno's wrath. But from this devastation emerged a spirit of resilience. The city, much like a phoenix, was destined to rise from its ashes. Leading the charge towards this monumental task was the renowned architect, Sir Christopher Wren. Appointed as the king's surveyor of works, Wren was entrusted with the Herculean task of resurrecting the city from its ashes. Driven by his vision of a modern, fire-resistant London, Wren embarked on a mission to redesign the city's layout. Gone were the narrow, winding medieval streets replaced by a grid of wide avenues and spacious squares. The haphazard, timber-framed houses were supplanted by brick and stone structures designed to withstand the dangers of future fires. Wren's crowning achievement, however, was the magnificent St. Paul's Cathedral. Rising from the ruins of its predecessor, the new cathedral was a testament to London's indomitable spirit. Its majestic dome, towering over the city, served as a beacon of hope amidst the desolation. Yet, this transformation was not without its challenges. The process was fraught with financial difficulties, logistical hurdles, and resistance from property owners. But despite these obstacles, London's residents persevered, their efforts fueled by the collective desire to rebuild their beloved city. In the years following the fire, London emerged as a city reborn. The streets, once a testament to medieval architecture, now reflected the ideals of modern urban planning. The buildings, once timber tinderboxes, now stood as fire-resistant fortresses. And at the heart of this transformation was the spirit of its people, unwavering in the face of adversity. Out of the ashes, a new London was born. A city that had risen from the ashes of destruction to stand tall, a testament to human resilience and the power of rebuilding. The Great Fire of London left an indelible mark on the city and its people. The fire's aftermath brought with it a wave of transformation. It seared a pathway to the modernization of the city, as London's residents were forced to rethink their approach to urban development. The city's architectural landscape, once dominated by timber-framed buildings, saw a shift towards structures built with brick and stone. This change was a direct result of the new building regulations instituted after the fire, which aimed to prevent such a disaster from recurring. Yet, the changes extended beyond the city's physical appearance. The fire also prompted a significant advancement in our understanding of fire safety and risk management. In its wake, a pioneering concept emerged: fire insurance. The establishment of the first fire insurance company, the Fire Office, in 1667, was a direct response to the Great Fire. It paved the way for the modern insurance industry, introducing the notion of shared risk and financial protection against unforeseen disasters. The Great Fire also left a physical reminder of its wrath and the city's resilience. The monument. This towering structure, designed by Sir Christopher Wren and Dr. Robert Hooke, stands tall near the spot where the fire began on Pudding Lane. It does not merely serve as a memorial to the catastrophic event, it is a tribute to the city's rebirth from the ashes, a testament to London's undying spirit and its ability to rise, phoenix-like, from the ruins. Over 3.5 centuries later, the legacy of the Great Fire of London is still palpable. It is reflected in the city's architecture, its fire safety regulations, its insurance industry, and its monument. These enduring symbols and institutions serve as a constant reminder of the city's past, its resilience, and its capacity for transformation. The Great Fire of London, a disaster that reshaped a city, remains a significant event in the city's long history. The Great Fire of London, a 4-day inferno, forever changed the face of one of the world's greatest cities. Our journey through history has taken us back to that fateful year of 1666. When a small spark in a Pudding Lane bakery erupted into an all-consuming blaze. The fire's cause, a combination of dry weather, closely built wooden houses, and the neglect of the city's firefighting measures, set the stage for what would become one of the most significant events in London's history. We've traced the fire's rapid spread across the city, fueled by a strong eastern wind and the city's wooden architecture. The flames, relentless and fierce, leapt from building to building, leaving nothing but devastation in their wake. We've delved into the failed attempts to control the flames. Despite the valiant efforts of London's inhabitants and the use of fire breaks, the fire continued to rage, feeding on the city's fuel-rich environment. This, coupled with the lack of a coordinated firefighting strategy, only served to exacerbate the disaster. We've explored the aftermath of the fire. A city once bustling with life was reduced to ashes, its inhabitants displaced, its economy disrupted. Yet, from the ashes rose a city reborn. The fire, while destructive, gave way to a period of rebuilding and transformation. London was rebuilt with more durable materials, streets were widened, and a more effective firefighting system was put in place. Lastly, we've examined the fire's long-term effects. The Great Fire of London, while a tragedy, served as a catalyst for change. It spurred the modernization of London and continues to influence its architecture, city planning, and fire regulations even today. The fire, a symbol of destruction and rebirth, continues to shape London's identity even today. From the ashes of the old, a new city was born, embodying the indomitable spirit of its people. The Great Fire of London, a testament to the city's resilience, remains an integral part of its rich and vibrant history. The Great Fire of London, a tale of devastation and renewal, has left us with many lessons. It's a story that transcends time, speaking to the resilience of the human spirit and the ever-present drive towards progress and improvement. In the ashes of the Great Fire, we see a city reborn, a phoenix rising from the smoky ruins. This event, as tragic as it was, served as a wake-up call for London and for cities around the world. It highlighted the crucial need for effective urban planning and fire safety measures. From the charred remnants of 17th-century London, the city had to rethink its structure, its materials, and its methods. Wood was swapped for stone, narrow alleyways for wider streets. The city was redesigned with safety in mind, a response to the harsh lessons learned from the fire. But the lessons of the Great Fire extend beyond architecture and city planning. It's a reminder of how quickly life can change and how important it is to be prepared for the unexpected. It's a testament to the strength and resilience of communities, to the power of unity in times of crisis. The Great Fire of London is not just a story of destruction, but also of rebirth, resilience, and learning. It's a story that continues to resonate today, as cities around the world face their own challenges and seek to learn from past experiences. This historical event, like many others, underlines the importance of understanding our past to shape our future. It encourages us to delve deeper into our history, to learn more, to question more. For it is only by understanding the trials and tribulations of those who came before us that we can truly appreciate the world we live in today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Until next time, keep exploring the past to understand the present.